Good morning, everyone. With a growing population existing online, social media can either be a friend or a foe in communicating information. Scientists are increasingly integrating social media sharing to strengthen scholarly communication. As suggested by a recent article published in Nature, research needs to be narrated into digestible and engaging forms for effective dissemination on one or more social media platforms. That leads me to the topic of my sharing today: promote your work online. Because whether it's a PLS or a graphical abstract or even a video, it's just another piece of content that requires promotion to attract the necessary eyeballs to your research. In fact, the actual research outreach only begins at this stage where you are starting to share all the created content with your target audience. I will be covering 3 components in this sharing. Number 1, how to bite-size the story from a PLS. Number 2, how to promote your research visibility through Facebook. And number 3, using the analytics in planning the next steps. Why should researchers care about promoting their work? Here are some facts that bring to light the concerns daunting the scholarly community in silence. This is a citation analysis extracted from Web of Science in December 2018. Based on the analysis done on 3 selected countries, over 50% of academic papers remain lowly cited even after a period of 10 years. There is a concern that researchers are actively lobbying or posting their full text at open portals with the hope of improving citation counts. Though that approach could help to cross the 0 mark of the citation barometer, evidently the progress remains almost stagnant after years. Therefore, it reflects the urgency of research outreach before the knowledge becomes out of date. To bite-size your story from PLS, why is there a need to do so? I understand that some of you might be wondering, isn't a PLS a good enough measure for promotion? For your information, it is just the first step of promotion. Although a PLS is a brief summary that allows wider audiences to comprehend your research, it is still too dry to get people's attention, especially when shared on social media. Imagine if you come across a 300-word post on any social media platform today, would you read it? Well, yes and no, but chances are your eyes would be more likely to be hooked up by those bite-sized content consisting of graphics, videos, or animation. And that's precisely the reason why you need to convert the PLS into something what I called as snippets. By extracting some of the key messages and essence of your research and sharing those through social media to create the hype that drives curiosity over to your work. Using the storyboard approach. Just like any copywriting guidelines, the very first step is to know who are we talking to. In most cases, our key target audience on social media would consist of scholars, researchers from various disciplines, as well as the news media. Research content needs to be reframed to suit the expectation of a diverse group of audiences accordingly. By using the same storyboard approach, we could extract the highlights from each segment to form individual snippets for postings on social media. From PLS to snippets. A single PLS can be dissected into multiple snippets, for instance, by capturing the what of the research, which emphasizes the novelty of your work, telling people the results and pairing it up with visuals to illustrate your message, followed by a link back to the PLS page for further details. Also, alter your language within the sharing to get more proximity so that you could engage with emotions that appeals to your audience. Next, we could highlight the why, which addresses the background and who could potentially benefit from the research. Here is an example. By mentioning the higher thermal resistance and tensile strength provides promising properties of this replacement composite in guarding frontline forces. Lastly, we may incorporate the big why as well, that involves the linkage with the relevant SDGs and or even blend in with the trending news and global impact. When complemented with a 1-minute video bite, it could attract the attention of not only researchers but also the journalists and the media. However, whether it's the language or visuals, the effectiveness of each post still varies according to the audience group. So it is still a priority to research further and understand the language and creative styles that resonate well with your ideal audiences. How to do that? I will share more about this shortly. Before we go any further, here is a common question that I'm often asked during my sharing. Which platform should I use to promote research for more visibility? With many social media platforms to choose from, where you spend your time is entirely up to you. The bigger question is not which platform to use, it's how to use them effectively. On the left are examples of academic social profiles, mainly for collaboration, discoveries, and sharing. And the ones on the right side are commonly known as common man social media platforms. This, I would say, is a major misperception, as these common man social media platforms are rapidly gaining popularity among scientists in the recent years for content marketing and research story sharing. Which platform to use, as I mentioned earlier, is an individual preference, ultimately boiling down to the type of content you wish to create and share with your audiences. Because every platform specializes in certain content styles serving different group of audience. If you are targeting the Japanese market, probably Twitter is a good choice, as the usage of Twitter is pretty high in Japan. If you would like to reach out to China researchers, you have no choice but to use WeChat or Weibo. Although I have titled it as Improving Visibility Using Facebook here, but I would like to highlight that you don't have to use Facebook only, because what I'm about to share is a methodology of utilizing the ads function to promote your work to reach a wider audience. And the same method can be applied to other platforms as well, including ResearchGate. One common myth is that people assume by simply posting content on all these platforms, the visibility is bound to go up automatically. Well, yes and no. Yes, if you are already a fairly famous researcher and has a lot of fans, followers, whatever you post up on social media, it will automatically gather attention. But unfortunately, for most people, we might not be that famous yet, which is why we would need to rely on the ads function to be more proactive in promoting our content. Here is an example to illustrate the differences between posts from the same Facebook page. As you can see, posts with ads don't only reach a significant number of people, but also garners a great deal in engagement. You have to understand this. There are over 80 million Facebook pages worldwide, generating hundreds of millions of content every single day. How do you ensure people notice your page and your content? It is the same phenomenon as publishing a paper. Without promoting it, the views would always remain low. Yes, you may get a few views here and there through personal sharing among your peers, but never the breakthrough that truly reaches out to a wider group of audiences. On the other hand, with ads, you are able to target very precisely who you want your content on Facebook to be seen by. Here are some examples of ads on Facebook. Whenever you browse your Facebook feeds, have you noticed posts that have the word sponsored? Ever felt like you have an invisible friend who seems to understand you so well to show you information according to your current interests constantly? For example, you are looking for a new laptop right now, and suddenly you start seeing lots of ads related to laptop appearing on your newsfeed on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Those are exact examples of ads being targeted to you, catering to your interests captured from your daily online activities. There are two ways to create an ad, from technically simple through your business page to a more creatively complex using another platform known as Facebook Ads Manager. I won't be covering the Ads Manager as its intricacy could overwhelm you within this short session. So I will run through the basic steps of creating an ad that is fairly similar across every other social media platform. So there are just 5 simple steps to create an ad. Number 1, you need to have a business page in order to access the ads function. Personal Facebook profiles do not work. Number 2, post your story that you have created and click on Boost Post. Number 3, select your objective. There are only 3 choices available here. Link clicks if you wish to drive traffic to other websites, post engagements if you wish to see more people engage with your posts, such as commenting, likes, sharing, and etc. And messaging if you wish to have people sending you personal messages on Facebook. In our case, we wish to direct traffic to the PLS, so we will select link clicks. Number 4, here is where you can define your target audience. The way we usually do it is we would perform a citation analysis beforehand to identify the top 3 to 5 countries that have a high interest in the particular subject area. Then we create ads to target these few countries only. One thing to note is that it is not advisable to target all the 3 countries within the same ad, and reason being is that Facebook algorithm will automatically optimize to show the ads to countries that show better results at lower costs. Let's say if you target the United States, United Kingdom, and Saudi Arabia together, most likely your ads will end up only be shown to Saudi Arabia. This is because the cost per click is significantly lower as compared to the other 2 countries. And the intention of Facebook is to help you in achieving the best results at the lowest cost possible. You can refine your audience further by demographics such as age group, gender, or even psychographics such as interest, behavior, lifestyle, and etc. In this case, I'm filtering people who matches the interest of research and must also be interested in scientific journals, also taking into consideration the match of the following keywords related to muscle, spinal cord, or biomedical engineering. Lastly, set your budget and campaign duration and your ad is ready to be launched. The minimum ad budget on Facebook is $1 per day. The next steps using analytics. After running a few ads, now it's time to measure the performance to identify which ad is working and which is not. Remember I mentioned earlier about finding the right creatives and copywriting that works well and resonates with your audiences? Here is the part where you work on the optimization by tweaking your ads accordingly. For example, testing out different copywriting or content targeting with the same audience group and observing the outcome of which achieve a better reach and engagement. As you can see from this example, each of these ads was given the exact same budget, but the amount of reach and link clicks varies. So there is a need to analyze what causes one ad to be more successful than another. It could be the right set of keywords, it could be the country, it could be the nature of the research topic, and all these data would aid in shaping out your next promotional campaign. Outreach optimization strategy. Basically, there are 3 main areas which requires an ongoing optimization. Firstly, the demographic targeting, switching between countries and relevant keywords for the maximum engagements. You can target different interests, behavior, or even job titles specifically. Secondly, enhance content with different creatives and copywriting style to localize and resonate with your audiences. Lastly, connecting research with global news and trends while staying engaged with community groups on Facebook. Here is a sample of the outcome of an actual research paper whereby the content was promoted on Facebook over a period of 6 months. It shows that continuous posting definitely increased the visibility and proven that such an approach does result in an increased download of full text by over 20%. Another common question which I do receive commonly is, does high visibility equates to more citation? The answer is once again yes and no. It truly depends on the paper itself. Marketing promotion is just an amplifier to draw eyeballs to your research and ensure that people could find your paper. The very first goal here is not to get citations, but the very first goal here is to make sure people are looking at our work, people are aware of our research. In a nutshell, here are the 5 rules of story sharing which I hope you guys would take away from my sharing today. Firstly, know your audience so that you could customize your content accordingly. Next, create attractive short snippets for your research and optimize your content with various visuals, videos, or even podcasts that has piqued the interest of a lot of researchers in the Western countries recently. It is necessary to utilize the ads function for detailed targeting, and lastly, it is always advisable to post on multiple platforms in order to reach a much wider and more diverse group of audiences. That's the whole idea of omni-channel marketing for research. Connecting various types of content related to your research work at multiple platforms and linking them back to your plain language summary and original publication. That's all for my sharing today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Casey, for such an informative sharing. Now we shall begin the Q&A session, and I notice we already have a few questions coming in. For the interest of those who joined the session late, you are welcome to enter your questions in the Q&A toolbar located at the bottom center of the Zoom interface. Hi, Casey.
Hi, Yuva.
Hi. Okay, so listening to your sharing, I'm sure many here would have realized the need to actively promote their research work online instead of stopping at the stage of merely publishing or publishing in high impact factor journals alone, especially after looking at the analysis shown at the beginning of your slides. Now let's move on to the questions. When you say to promote your work online, I know researchers would quickly jump in saying they have ResearchGate accounts and ORCID IDs. Would you be able to share with us the difference of using these platforms only as compared to the social media platforms you've mentioned earlier?
Right. Although ResearchGate is commonly known as the LinkedIn among researchers, but it's still a very academic-like layout, and the content creativity part is fairly limited, I would say, within ResearchGate, simply because it's not meant for sharing stories or snippets. In a way, ResearchGate serves more like a CV for researchers where showcasing your research publications, area of research, which are potentially good for looking for collaborators. Whereas social media like Facebook, Twitter, on the other hand, is more meant for story sharing, and it gives more than one way to tell a story creatively by utilizing videos, hashtags, keywords, moving beyond the boundaries of traditional storytelling or even advertising. Whereas on Orchid, on the other hand, Orchid is more like is an and for it's meant that is positioned as a for name disambiguity. So basically, every researchers would register for a unique ID to represent, to replace their name. Because as we know, there are, for example, if you go to Korea, if you shout out Mr. Kim, there will be like 5 to 6 people raise up their hand in the hall, right?
Mm.
So in order to solve the name, this ambiguity issue, Orchid ID was actually created to serve every individual will have their own unique ID, so that they would not need to be like any confusion, right?
Okay. We have one of the audience, one of them from the audience would like you to actually elaborate on the bite sizing info. So could you elaborate on how to bite size information and what did you mean by bite sizing the information?
Sure. I think because like I shared earlier on, even though we have created a plain language summary or even a graphical abstract, but those content are still pretty much dry because it's still pure text. So think of it like if I give you an example, would be like if you're watching a movie, before you watch a movie, would you often see on social media? It will be like a trailer, a short trailer, or even a teaser. So extracting some of the most important scenes within the entire movie and create a short story line to actually attract their attention so that people would get hyped up and curious about it and they would like to know more, then they could click on the link that would brings them to the plain language summary page.
Mhm.
So several methods that we did share is that we can extract out from the plain language summary itself. We can highlight on your novelty, what is the core finding of your research paper, or even the background. How does your research basically aligns with SDG impacts to solve what is the bigger problem that your research is solving? Basically, anything that would create excitement about your research. That is basically what we meant for bite sizing your content for social media sharing.
I see. Okay. Okay. People, especially researchers, are rather skeptical when it comes to using social media platforms to promote scholarly work. One of the few reasons is the effectiveness of adopting such an approach. So, based on your experience working with research outreach projects, how much effort should be put in, and how long does it take before a significant rise in visibility or citation could be observed?
Right. In fact, I did see one question popping up in quite similar terms in elaborating analytics.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So as for visibility, basically, we could measure it through the analytics even after a week of promotion. So as we know, social media is moving at a very fast pace. The moment I create a post today, the next day I could actually gather whether are people engaging or are they looking at my content or not. So usually I will use a week to as a benchmark. So however, to get it right, in order to see a significant increase, it would also depend on several factors such as the nature of topic or even the target audience group. Let me give you an example. Like in the current situation right now, any news or discoveries in regards to the COVID-19 would definitely attracts the eyeballs and attention of every researcher, right? So let's say if you are working on a more niche subject, then it might require a longer period of time, like 1 month or 2 months, to be able to optimize your content by testing out various copywriting, creative styles accordingly. So those analytics are basically supporting data of to testing out trial and error, whether we call it optimization. But in layman, it's basically we are doing some testing to see which are the best set of copywriting, the language that could resonate well with different group of audiences. Because someone in the US, they might see content differently, and someone even in a graphic form, there are the Western style and the Asian style of typical taste doesn't it's not the same at
mm-hmm.
the same place. So when through the analytics, those are the data will let us know whether which post, which content is actually um, able to deliver a better results as compared to the other different copy styles, I would say.
So basically, the analytics is actually the measurement for the performance of your posting or the information that you have posted. How is it performing online? Is that what
That's
you were
right.
trying to say? Yes. Okay.
That's
Great.
right.
Uh, I think some researchers are also curious about when should they start promoting their work online. Should it be post-publication or can it even be done pre-publication?
Right. This is also one common question. Often people are aware. A lot of people because they are afraid that if let's say have not published the paper and they do some promotion online, afraid that people might copy copy their idea or sort. But in most cases, usually especially in the context of research and science, promoting your content prior to publication, you could not only get the immediate response of how people feel about your research work, but it may also triggers the eyeballs of potential funders or policymakers to get how the market actually feels about your idea or your research. Ultimately, research is meant to be shared across transparently at any stages. So, for some people, they are skeptical about their ideas being stolen or plagiarized. There are actually some of the tools that I was aware of by using the blockchain technology to actually blockchain your data and your findings so that eventually people could even cite those data as well.
Okay, great. Thank you, Casey, for your insightful sharing. Unfortunately, we have reached the end of today's session. Due to the interest of time, I'm afraid that we may not be able to answer all of your questions. For those that has not been answered, do scan the QR code at the bottom right corner of this slide to be added into our Skype chat group. You can then post your questions there and we would be delighted to get back to you on that. Meanwhile, in order to bring you a better experience in our future webinars, please leave us your feedback by scanning the QR code on the top right corner of the slide. Thank you everyone for your participation. We hope this series of webinars on Read, Write, Draw, Promote has been helpful to you. You could also visit our website, iesresearch.solutions, for more exciting case studies and webinars. Once again, thank you, MyLoft team, for putting together this webinar series. We look forward to seeing you again in near future, and I will pass it back to the organizing team to do the closing.
Sure.
Right. I see a lot of a few people asking related to the electronic certificate. So for that, we would actually send out a URL to all of the participants to basically fill up their names, the name that they would like to include as well as their university, and we will prepare the e-certificate and to be sent out by next week, right? And yeah, together with the offer, together with the voucher code as well.
Great, great. Thank you, Yorani and Casey Tang. Basically, Professor Pathak wanted to join this session, and unfortunately, due to some reason, he didn't join, and he have sent his letter of thanks. So I just want to read on behalf of AKTU. So on the behalf of AKTU, I take pleasure in thanking our speaker, Mr. Casey Tang, Ms. Yorani Nair, Ms. Aide Susu, and Mr. Fu Wong, and all the participants who take out the time and attend the webinar. All the 4 sessions were very insightful, and I hope the participants would have learned a lot through these sessions. It has been very kind of IES Research to give MyLoft an opportunity to host the session and bring AKTU consortium member and IES Research team together. All the speakers have put together their experience and answered all the queries of participants very patiently and appropriately. I hope that we have another chance to come together and conduct many more webinars like these to share knowledge and experience with all the researchers to be successful. Thank you so much, everyone. By Professor Ram Kumar Pathak.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you.